Okay, good morning, and welcome to the August press conference of the city manager and the mayor. And to this morning, we also have invited Chief Bryan to join us. And we'll start with a presentation from the chief. After, I want to make note that, here about a week or so ago, I put a column in the paper asking for us to join forces and take action and listen to the voices that are taking action in our community to help us solve our problems. In particular, one of the things that has been top of mind has always been the homeless situation. And most recently, any activity along the trails in Topeka that have been at our front of our conversations in many opportunities. Council members have talked about it, and talking with all of staff. Chief Wheelis brought together a joint patrol operation along those trails just to respond to the concerns that have been expressed by the neighbors and by our constituents who use those trails. And I applaud him and the sheriff for doing that, because I think it is important for us to combine our resources to have the most impact on what we're trying to accomplish. And to that end, I'll ask the chief to give us an update and some details on that operation. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Slide those on. This will work. It was, as the mayor said, a great opportunity for the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office and the Topeka Police Department to come together and answer a public area of concern. Certainly we wish the weather was a little bit better, as it was very hot for the patrols to be out there. But we were able to do some stuff over the weekend, and we logged 16 hours of patrol, 44.5 miles of the trail system that were checked back and forth, starting in the county for the sheriff's deputies and then the city police officers in the city, overlapping back and forth. It was a lot fewer people on the trails due to the heat. We logged about 10 citizen contacts. The citizens that we did come in contact with, the officers all noted in their daily reports that they were very appreciative for seeing the extra patrols out there. So that was the big accomplishment that was made there. As far as the investigations and things that were related out there, we don't have any additional information on that. But the patrol operation and making the community understand that we heard their concerns and that we were able to act, it was a great opportunity for Sheriff Hill and I to also to display the teamwork that we have with the local law enforcement partners here. So it was a good operation through the weekend. We are going to tear it back a little bit because of the extreme heat weather that we're dealing with through this week. But we anticipate some future operations, and certainly we'll continue with the ongoing investigations as well.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to piggyback on that as well. That's one activity that's going on that is addressing our issue of homelessness. Another one that I want to give some credit to is Seth Wagner and other businessmen in Topeka who have been working ahead of this issue with the Clean and Safe team in the downtown area. Their efforts have been noted. I've been able to have meetings with them and get a feel for them for where they are in their operation and where they can use some support and assistance from the city. And to that end, we will have follow-up meetings that will include the chief of police and others, code enforcement. So again, we're getting some action to some of the efforts that we've really been talking about for a while and moving forward on some of this. Another initiative, and I encourage people to tune in tonight for the council meeting for the discussion, is an ordinance that was brought forth, will be brought forth by Deputy Mayor Dobler with regards to the trails again, and some camping ordinances. So I think it's important for the community to know, because oftentimes if they don't have the information, there's an assumption that some action isn't being taken. But we are doing things to hopefully get an entire package of strategies that will help us have a positive impact on our situation right now. It will be a good discussion. I think it's a well-intended ordinance, and I think generally the council is supportive. How it will end up in the final product is something that I hope the citizens will pay attention to so that they know that we are taking some action. So that's another effort that I just want to make sure that people know that things are happening. Later on today, myself and city manager will be attending, I think, the third meeting, public meeting, hearing hosted by the Topeka Rescue Mission to listen to the community and talk about different perspectives on how this issue is affecting both businesses and private individuals and the community at large. So I appreciate the city manager coming with me on that later on this afternoon. So there are things that are happening that are addressing our issue. So I want to give the city manager an opportunity to speak a little bit about some of the things he has on his list.
So let's talk about our employees out in this heat. And our employees out in this heat could refer to anybody, any citizen. What we're doing is making sure they take frequent breaks. We're making sure they're hydrated. We invest in cool vests. We invest in cool wraps. We invest in protective clothing from the sun. And we invest in a lot of common sense, too. So I think most of our employees know if they're not feeling well, if they're feeling sick, we get them out of that situation and we get someone to look at them. And it is the same thing we advise our citizens during the heat. Don't go out there and act like it's a 70-degree day, because it isn't. And it will sap your strength, and it will create problems faster for you than what you really imagine. So, so far, cross fingers, I don't think we've had any of our employees down, and we hope that there won't be any of that also. The budget tonight, we'll have another budget discussion tonight. The governing body will. We're getting close to finalizing the budget for next year, and right now we actually program a reduction in the mill rate. And the public hearing will be Tuesday, September 5th at the city council meeting, and that will be in the evening. And I think that's it for right now, unless you have questions.
I do want to mention, thank you, Richard, that the city staff did in fact hold a budget hearing session at the Topeka Public Library here this last Thursday, which I think is a good idea, and get public input so that information is there before the discussion gets started at the council level. And so I want to thank them for doing that.
And if I may, Mayor, if a citizen has questions on the budgets, call the director of finance, call that, and that's Freddie, call Freddie, and call him or send him an email, and they will answer your questions there. They will take whatever time it needs to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. Another thing I want to bring up on behalf of Councilman Spencer Duncan, who has been really working hard on this land bank program. He and I have spoken three times, and we're working to put that board together. He gave me a bullet point to bring to the press conference today, and that the program is closer to being put into action. Next month, the board will be presented for appointments, as final conversations are being had with those interested in serving. Once appointed, the board will get right to work. So I know that has been something that people were wondering, well, what are the next steps? We had to get that board into place. We had to consider all applications that come through and give it some time. You just don't run out and start picking the first hand that goes up. You need to really find out people who are willing to make a commitment, a long-term commitment to what that land bank hopes to accomplish for the city. So I applaud Councilman Duncan for his efforts in that. And so you can look for that probably, like, as he said, next month when that is brought forward to the governing body. So I'm enthusiastic about that land bank program. We've talked about it for a number of years. You have supporters and others who are waiting to see, and that's fine. I just say that do what you can to help this make a positive step forward in the city of Topeka and helping us with our housing. So that's important for us. And I want to follow up again a little bit on the heat advisory, city manager. You know, this is a time where you'll hear on the news, and I'm glad they do, reminders that when you're out doing your chores, going to work, taking the kids to school, that you pay a lot of attention to who you leave in the car. Make sure you're doing everything you can to prevent any tragedy from happening. If you have young children, make sure that you don't mistakenly believe that they're out of the car and leave them in the vehicle. That's extremely, extremely important. I know we talk about our pets too, but for me, the kids are the ones that really need to make sure that we're paying attention. Put whatever reminder you need to in the back seat. If it's your purse or something that's going to draw your attention back there, make sure you check the car so that there isn't any accident. And for us generally, if you see somebody that might be experiencing heat exhaustion or heat stroke, call 911 immediately and do what you can to provide assistance and help. Keep yourself safe, but try and keep your fellow citizens from suffering from this heat. It's extremely important. I know that we do have the recreation centers that have been opened by the Parks and Rec, and I think that's a wonderful opportunity for people who don't have air conditioning, who just don't know where to go to spend the day to try and keep cool. Take advantage of these locations because they're not only cool, they're good places to be, and there are activities for adults and students and youth. So please, I saw the announcement just yesterday when Mike got on the television and told that those community centers are open, so it's important that we utilize them. I just want to make sure that we keep that top of mind. We know what it's going to be like for the rest of this week, so keep that top of mind in your daily activities. One other thing is I want to bring up is as a general update, and not in response to any inquiries, I just want people to know that we are moving forward with Hotel Topeka. City manager, city attorney, and others have been involved in conversations where we are conducting interviews for asset management teams. I think we're close to that, to that selection. And I think that's the first step in getting our team and our efforts organized forward on that project. So we are doing everything we can to be responsible and responsive to the community's concerns about the city and its activities. So that's the final thing I had on my list. Chief or Richard, do you have anything else you'd like to speak to before we
Just want to remind everybody the TPD Fall Citizens Academy begins Thursday evening, and the mayor will be kicking it off with an opening speech on Thursday the 24th. That's all I've got.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people that help make this city work. A number of them are in the back of the room there, but I want to especially give a shout out to Jane Murray and Liz Toyne. Jane is in the mayor's office, helps the mayor tremendously and other staff, and Liz helps out the council and other staff also. And these are people that you might meet when you call the office and you want to talk to a council person or you want to talk to the mayor. And they do everything possible to get you to the right person to talk to. And they do everything possible to help us on staff help get the right information back to the mayor and governing body. So thank you very much.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up, Richard. Appreciate it. So we'll stand for any questions or sit for any questions that you may have.
What can you tell us about what's being done to fill the city manager's position on first and interim basis and then on a permanent basis?
City manager, that's your ballpark.
All right, here's the deal, Tim. I'm here as long as what the governing body needs me and wants me, okay? Those are two important things. But they are progressing. They are having discussions looking for a longer term interim. So at the time that's appropriate, they will make an announcement on that and talk more about it. But they, I believe, have engaged a firm to help them with that.
Wouldn't you need to approve a contract to do that? The council?
Well, here's that's a good question, Tim. It's with SGR, and the city has a continuing contract with SGR. So the city attorney is working with them and trying to work that contract to get their assistance. It's a standing contract we already have.
Okay, so the search isn't just in-house, it's in-house and also outside. Okay.
Other questions?
Are you all done doing the extra patrol on the trails, or is that still going on? And if so, how long is that going on?
It'll be an ongoing process. We were doing proactive operations from time to time on the trails before the recent media attention, but we are factoring in the heat and as far as the citizen usage for it too, and accommodating from there. But there'll be a number of proactive operations the sheriff and I have discussed moving forward for the remainder of the year, and we'll talk about those as we go through. But the heat we're under the same common sense as everyone else in regards to being out in the heat when we don't need to. So you won't see as much in the next few days, but there'll be lots of operations to come.
Got it. And just kind of switching gears a little bit, there's been 22 homicides in 2023. What's the message to everyday Topekans? How this is affecting their lives? Anything you guys want to say to that?
Well, I'll let the chief speak to the criminal side of it, and then I have some comments as well.
Well, I think, we've earlier this year, we did some social media things and we put out some information asking for the community's help, and this community responded. Certainly those numbers are concerning, and they're up from the last 2 years where we kind of bucked the national trend and went the other direction. But, we have a great community here. We have a lot of support from the governing body, the city leadership, and the business and community service organization community. So we're continuing to work hard. The officers, the brave men and women out on the streets, no matter what the weather's like, putting in the work and doing what we can to make the city as safe as we possibly can. But the citizen level of participation and the information that we've gotten on those cases has been tremendous, and there's been a number of good arrests over the course of the year.
So I can't emphasize enough how important it is for citizens to connect with the police, and we have a Crime Stoppers program, right? That guarantees anonymity and also a reward under certain conditions. But it's important when these things happen that citizens tell the police what they heard, what they saw, anything. The most minute piece of information that you might not think is worth telling may be the information that helps the police solve the crime.
Now, just a follow-up to that is that the community has been very responsive in helping the police department. They always have been, but I think even more so now, is because they're concerned too about the issues that happen in their city, and so they want to do whatever they can to help the department find those persons responsible. And just recently, I won't get specific, I do know that it was some effort from the citizens giving information to the police department that helped them locate a suspect in a short amount of time. Okay?
Are we seeing more partnership between the city and the county on the homeless in ways other than law enforcement?
I think so, Tim. I've had conversations with Shawnee County commissioners, trying to find that role that we can share and where we can support each other. I think it is clear that it's not just a city problem, it's a countywide issue, it's a statewide issue, it's a countrywide issue. And if you don't collaborate and pool your resources in an effective way, you're not going to get very far. And the commissioners have been very open to discussions. We have yet to put down a real, specific strategic plan, but the desire to do so is there. Okay? Okay, no further questions. I want to thank everybody for showing up and for your attention. Be safe, stay out of the heat. Doug, that means you. Take care and have a good day.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks for sitting up there.